Welcome to Thrive Radio. I'm your host, Aimee Montgomery, entrepreneur and digital marketing agency owner. Today, my guest is Justin Keller. He's the founder of 2448 Agency. He is a seasoned fashion industry executive from New York, now living in LA. He went from running his own successful business, then navigating lockdown challenges and starting a brand new business. Justin's journey has evolved into guiding innovators and creatives. Join us as we explore his unique approach to brand building, the pursuit of entrepreneurial authenticity, and the insights on achieving balance as a business owner. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited for our discussion today.
What an intro. I love your energy. Thank you. Yeah.
People tell me that it's my gift.
Oh, maybe it's your superpower. It's like
My
boo, boo, boo.
superpower.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit more about your journey from working in the fashion industry to starting your own business and where you are today?
Yes, I can. My journey started in New York. I actually worked at a store, became friends with vendor reps, and then was like, how do you get a job in wholesale being like a rep for a brand? Got a job, went to the right place, did the right thing, climbed the corporate ladder like we all do, chasing success. And then I opened my own business in 2015. And the aim of my business was to build a firm or build an agency that would offer showroom wholesale sales for small brands entering the US market, trying to sell to certain stores that had great relationships with, just helping them get a foothold on the market. And I picked the name 2448 for two reasons. One, I was at home in my apartment in New York, working out of my house, and then I got an office in LA, and then I couldn't think of a great name, and I did like distance by way the crow flies. And it was like where I was sitting and where the office in LA was on a straight line was 2,448 miles. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. I love numbers. 2, 4, 4, the 8, the 24, the 48, da, da, da. Like, this is such a good number. I work with stores across the country. This is what I'm going to name my business. And I had this other mentor that was like, hey, if you ever open your own business, name it a number because you're first on every A to Z list.
Oh, interesting.
Lo and behold, I go to my first like convention fashion show market in Paris, January 2016. I see the whole profile, like the whole plaque. Guess who's number one at the very top? My business, 2448 Agency. It's like,
That's
thank
amazing.
you, Robert. Yeah.
I'm gonna
And there
remember.
you go.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
remember that one.
And
That's
then I moved to LA permanently in 2016, and still here.
yeah, and now you are actually helping all of these product-based businesses. What's your focus right now?
My focus is small brand coaching, small brand entrepreneurials that probably work in the creative arts, like a fashion company or an accessory or shoes, or I've actually branched out a little bit into fitness or a little bit into like other creative modalities. But I have something that I think is cool and I think is unique, and I need someone to help me solidify my message, help me with my pricing and my audience structure and take it to market.
Nice.
And it's really coaching.
Yeah, yeah. So you've also shifted a lot of your external accomplishments and where you're more internally driven. How did you come to that approach?
That approach came through the old trial by fire. In 2019, I was having some like on paper success. My business was growing. And at that time, which I now have realized was not true to myself, chasing this false self of trying to create this extravagant business of beautiful showrooms and offices and things. I got a beautiful, super expensive, huge studio in New York City and staffed it. And it took me so much effort and so much money and so much blood, sweat, and risk. And it finally opened right at the end of 2019. I went there once for one season and then lockdown hit.
Wow.
And everything I thought I had built up to define my business I got evicted. It was like right off the bat. Here's your 5-year lease. Can you pay this? Absolutely not. How do I get out? And so
Oh,
I learned that all these external things didn't have to define myself. And I realized that the whole ethos of 2448, me sitting in my apartment, me getting this office, me doing Skype before Zoom was popular with brands and stuff was like, I know who I am if I just look in the mirror and remove all this noise that got removed from me. And 2020 was so hard, but I learned that I can be my own self by looking inward and not defining myself by those external offices, couches and furnitures, all those things, those shiny objects.
yeah. And so much of it too is such a waste of money.
Yes.
And like even now with the pandemic, nobody wants to go to offices anymore.
No, yeah. It's also a waste of what someone thinks success is. And I thought success was a huge office. But Aimee, success is like waking up every day, doing what you do, feeling good with your day, going to sleep at night, and getting up the next day and doing it again.
Yeah, and actually enjoying your life.
Right? And
Oh,
appreciating it.
yeah, having some hobbies.
Yeah. Having our creative play, like we were talking about,
Yeah,
part
exactly.
of my coaching framework.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Mm.
So you also focus on finding your entrepreneurial authenticity. Can you explain what
Hmm.
that is and how that's played a role?
Yeah. A lot of the people that I work with that own their own business are creating something like a thing, a shirt, a dress, a shoe, a piece of art. I call those a value. All one needs to survive is food, water, and shelter. So if someone wakes up and is, I need a t-shirt as a commodity, they're probably going to go to like Target and buy a Hanes basic t-shirt. But a lot of the brands I work with are selling this dream of cool California or New York City, like grit and grind, or everything has this value attached to it. And in order, I believe, for that value to elicit an emotion with a consumer or an audience, one needs to be authentic to self. One needs to look at it and say, this is who I am. This is why myself, who I am, is creating this product. It is like my message into the world of a thing. And it's a value based item, not a life commodity. That's food, water, or shelter. You don't need anything else for human survival.
Yeah,
So it's like building your perception in your own ethos. That's true authenticity.
I like that. That's really good. So you also help entrepreneurs and creatives tap into their unique expressions and bring them to the surface. And I think that this is interesting because as an artist, I'm interested in this because as an artist, I think that's probably one of the hardest things to do and bring that unique expression because you're as an artist, you're always putting yourself out there to be rejected, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the unique expressions, how do you help with that?
A lot of like creations or these art, yes, there's self-doubt. I'm going to make something and people are going to judge me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like back that step up a second. And it's almost like what we were talking about earlier, right when we started, of your superpower.
Oh,
We need to work together to what makes you different from the other people doing this. And let's work to find your superpower. What makes you unique?
yeah,
Knowing that when we go down this road, it might rub some people wrong, but that's okay.
yeah,
It's not trying to make something that's going to satisfy everyone on this planet. It's really like making something or some things or some creation or feeling or art that's going to be everything exactly what a certain someone wants.
yeah,
And it's what is your unique special ability that is different than others? How do we stop comparing you to those others and really hone in on what you do so well?
yeah. I like that. So you went and built this big business, and you had mentioned prior to the podcast, we were talking about how in some ways you scaled too fast and
Hmm.
you grew really fast. And then of course then you're workaholicing.
Mhm.
And it's almost impossible to not workaholic a little bit in your business, especially when it's new. So, how do you help business owners in this area of really kind of balancing their personal life and actually creating space for that?
Sometimes when you're caught on these like workaholic cycles, we get caught in like doing something just to do something. Like I'm going to reorganize my office 100 times, or I'm going to go look at this piece of artwork that I'm creating or this song that I'm writing, like, and just think and think and think and think and not know when to stop. And that would be this overworking workaholic, but also autopilot syndrome. And I talk with people sometimes when they feel overwhelmed with working so hard. It's not necessarily just that cliche of work smarter, not harder,
Yeah.
but there's a moment to just stop. I call it like non-doing. Like stop what you're doing and just sit with your feelings for a second, because two things will normally happen. If you're an artist making art, or you're a clothing designer designing something and you're in your head and not at your best self, if you stop, you realize the world doesn't end, right? I am granting myself permission to take a break, take a recharge, and there's really no immediate consequence. The consequence one might think is happening is I'm stopping, like things are going to be over. No, like you're stopping to get grounded, to get conscious, to break that autopilot, to build balance. So it's like back to what you said earlier of if one can do something called non-doing for a second, stop, reflect, and then maybe layer in a creative play or something that is like an escape mentally, emotionally, that will benefit the soul, one is going to go right back to their work of art with a whole higher level of creative conscious to be able to be better at what they're going back to. And
Yeah.
that to me is like balance in an entrepreneurial creative setting of like, I gave this all I got for now and I'm wiped. Instead of keep going, take a moment to reflect, to meditate, to sleep, to eat, because as I'm bettering myself, I'm getting more in the zone and aware, and then I can go back to being a higher level of creativity.
Yeah. It's so true. And
It's like a
I,
cycle. It's just
it
a
is.
cycle.
Yeah. And I had to laugh a little bit when you said the just going into autopilot.
Hmm.
I've done that. And then
Oh, we all have done it. Yeah.
you just snap out after about a month, or maybe it's even a week or two. You snap out and you're like, oh, where have I been?
Yeah. And sometimes people can put something into their life that does have a little bit of an autopilot feel of, but you're doing it consciously. Whereas like the negative workaholic is like unconsciously just not stopping. But if maybe
That was
if you like the another one is if you get your best thoughts while you're on a run, like that run becomes the autopilot, but you consciously chose to do it.
yeah.
But there's like the conscious and unconscious
Yeah,
autopilot.
yeah, right.
Sometimes like just literally stopping. And it sounds so easy. It's not. Like I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say like, oh, just like when I'm having a bad day and overwhelmed, I just like literally stare at the wall, do nothing. No, I have some things that work for me, and then I realize I can go back and be a better version of what I was trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And it's amazing how just like taking a break, going for a walk can transform everything. And then I think to your point as well, taking a break and doing sort of the meditation and trying to be mindful and learning all of that, at least for myself, when I force myself to do it,
Mm-hmm.
it does not come natural. Like
Mm-mm.
I want my mind just wants to keep going, right? But if I take the time and I force myself to do mindful meditation for 30 minutes and do these different things, not only is my mood better, I'm more successful, life works
Yeah.
for me. And I go from survival mode of, I've got to do everything to survive to, I don't know, you tap into sort of a level of just everything happens for you.
You're in the zone. It's
Yeah.
literally what I would call it. You stop doing something, you realize I exist, I'm here right now. And then it's like your creative conscious raises, your bliss and happiness levels and mood raises. You go back to being a better and best self back to your work, and you're in the zone. You're gonna probably be better. There's this other, there's a word that is more of an Eastern thought of like your dharma. And do you know the word like your dharma, like your ethos or your inner soul?
I've heard a lot of it on TV, but I never really knew what the definition.
It's a tossed around word. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think of it in context with creating as a creator who's like making a brand of what their personal brand is, he, she, or that. And if you're not in a rush or race against time, and you can get more connected to yourself to produce something creatively, it's going to get you in touch with the whole dharma of what you're trying to offer in your message, making that emotion that you want your audience to feel and perceive and get that, gotta have it, gotta see this, gotta taste it, gotta touch it. And that will come more organically, I believe, as you're more in touch with your dharma, because it's just like opening that flow and the right people will be ready to hear it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's cool.
How do you think that working in the fashion industry has contributed and helped you with your coaching style and working with entrepreneurs now?
Like, I'd say two big traits of people in the fashion industry, one being emotional or creative, or like that side of the brain is going for like a design, the people that are in design and that world. And then there's also a lot of there's a lot of patience to be tested in like this, like I need this for my store, or I need to do this for this thing, of like how it's like there's like a rush. And I find that I'm successful in the fashion industry of just bringing a calmness to a room sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
when you get this combo of like emotional, creative, like beautiful minded people, not then like race against this deadline or this like structure of business. It like lessens the blow and makes like a calming nature and like listening. And most people just want to be heard and understood. And so taking those skills to coaching, there are just like watching people's body language and just like using like emotional listening tools, not just ears, that helps me like check in with how someone is feeling. And those are pretty transferable. Just being calm, just lowering the temperature. Let's get on the same page and let's
Yeah,
then go forward.
I like that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the innovators, especially, and product-based creatives, they deal with a set of unique challenges, right?
Hmm.
And so how do you help them in that brand building process? Because obviously, have you ever heard the term the first person on the market is experiences the bloodbath? I don't know if you, and I work with a lot of business owners that, have new technology, different things like that. And they're stepping out in faith that this is actually good. They believe in it. But how do you help those that are really stepping out with something that's new and through that branding process, so that, do you have a way to help them avoid the bloodbath?
I think back it up before it's released to the market in a creative industry of, if you're making something that is creative from your own perspective, ready, like not everyone is going to see and feel the same way you do. There is going to be criticism. And so it's back to that knowing, what is your mission and what are you trying to do and who are you trying to touch and target? And if you can focus on that, it's back to that, just like ignoring the noise a little bit. There is something to be said, though, about creating something new and unique and showing it to an audience and eliciting reaction.
Yeah.
Because if one is nervous of that process, one is probably fighting perfectionism. And sometimes perfectionism is actually searching for something that may or may not exist. It's almost like a scarcity mindset of, I'm trying to make something that's going to be perfect, and I don't even know what perfect is.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe doing something authentically that feels good and feels right and releasing it, you can be pleasantly surprised with what you thought maybe. There's like that feeling of like perfect versus good enough, and like doing something and like just being in touch with how you feel about it and how your right audience feels about it, knowing that it's not going to be for everyone. And that would be that bloodbath part. But
Yeah.
focusing on the filling of the water cup or the positivity of releasing something.
Yeah. I like that.
And it's like another one that goes, I think goes wrong a lot in like clothing or other like item things of, hey, I can make this for $5 less. Well, that's going to make you need to convince everyone buying the other thing to stop and then now buy your thing that's just like a replication or a knockoff. Why not try to use your superpower to make your own thing? And maybe you attract your own audience. Maybe you attract a new way to see something. I believe that to be a more pure, authentic starting point for a brand.
Yeah. What has been your truth that has gotten you this far in your journey?
I think like there's something with just like knowing who you are, right? And I think I have learned through trial, fire, success, failure of what I am good at, what makes me different, why someone wants to hear what I have to say, just being like content or comfortable in my own skin. I think that's one of the hardest things about anyone starting a brand of what is the right thing? What am I supposed to be? What are other people going to think of me? Like, who's going to answer all these questions? And I think now in my life, my truth I live by is I try to be this is who I am. This is what I dress like. This is how I cut my hair. I'm married. I have a dog. I like these things. I don't want to come across as fake or hiding something. This is me. And it's not for everyone. But now at this point of coaching and doing more of like small business advising coaching, like it's right for the right people.
Yeah.
And I have to trust and believe that.
Yeah.
It's taken hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars of therapies and schooling and certification and coaching and working with great coaches and everything. But it's just, I wrote here on this piece of paper just in prep for this. Of my truth is, I am me.
Yeah. I love that.
I used to get so thrown off when people would be like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "How can I answer that in one question? I do so many things. Like, my resume? Like, no,
Right. And then people
right,
they want to categorize you, right?
right."
Yeah. There's that categorization. And I had one lady once that actually came on my podcast. She's, you don't look like who you are.
What does that mean?
I know, like I'm supposed to like look like something, and I would say I'm an extremely spiritual person, love energy, I'm hippie, spiritual,
Mhm.
and she's you wear too much makeup. I'm like, that's my art. That's my art. Every day I get to pick up paintbrushes.
Someone came on your podcast and told you wear too much makeup.
Yeah,
That person's got a lot of issues.
right.
Don't come. That's what we said earlier. You're gonna come to my place of safe business and tell me how to be. You're not right for each other.
No, no, yeah, and like, when was the last time that and I'm sitting here Googling, do you have to look like who you are on the inside?
Well,
Like,
that
where's
must have
the
been a
rule?
great Google search. Yeah.
Yeah,
But like you said it, you're a spiritual sort of hippie, like those are all philosophies. Like there's no physical characteristic with those words. Like,
right? Yeah. I mean,
mm,
I suppose I could go for the aesthetic of the 70s.
but we're
But
in 2024, so
yeah,
like
right.
it's like I almost would have triggered me a little bit to be like, all right, next time I'm gonna send you a script of how you think I should be for when you come on my show.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting some of the feedback you get, but I always thought that was super interesting because it was in a time when I would just had really figured out who I was. And I
Mm.
went out and I did all these things that I love and all the stuff. And I looked around my house. I had incense burning. There was like international everything. Like different countries represented and just all of my art and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I'm a hippie.
But
Yeah,
all those things are what you figured out to be your best version of like aware, like we were
yeah,
saying earlier. Who's
yeah,
that person to judge?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Do you know who Seth Godin is?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you like him?
Yeah.
Do you know his book called The Purple Cow?
I know of it. I've not read it.
In a nutshell, it's a book called The Purple Cow, and here's the marketing brand building analogy. You're driving on the road, da da da. Oh, look, a cow. That's interesting. Then it's, oh, a bunch of cows. That's so not interesting. And then it's, oh, a purple cow. And it's like, how can one be a purple cow, which is different, unique, and knows themselves in a very complacent situation? You're going to attract the right people, that fringe person that's like, a, a cow is boring. Like a pasture of cows is one of the most boring things one could see. But like a purple cow, I'm in. Wow, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these, like how we dress, how we set our environments, how these things are like, who wants to go be safe when it comes to that kind of stuff? That's
Yeah.
how I feel. You're figuring out who you are and how you want to set your room up, burning sage, having things from different countries. That's who you are, and you feel comfortable. Would you want me just to be like a square? Then that's boring.
Yeah. Right.
And if you expected something different, that's on yourself for bringing like a bias to the table.
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting that you said about that is one thing I noticed, especially like online with social media and all that, the things that make you different is what causes you to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the people that play it safe that really don't make an impact, like
Mm-hmm.
too afraid. So if you've got something super weird about you, like I go viral a lot because I look young, because it's weird.
You see my hair, glasses, necklace situation. You're like, that person looks interesting. What's he gonna say? And there's
Yeah.
people probably like, that person looks crazy. There's no way he knows what he's talking about. That's your loss, because maybe I would have said something that would have been beneficial to you, but you'll never know.
Yeah, yeah. But it's always like the what's different, what makes you different that draws people in.
Yeah,
Whether or not they accept you or not is a whole other thing, but
yeah.
at
I
least
like to tell, and I like to tell people, even like in those things, it's back to that. What do you do? How do we put that across in 1 second? So, dressing the way we do, having our hair the way we do, our makeup that we do, all of the ways we present ourselves is really that like snapshot judgment that's going to be done by somebody else. Let's give us our best opportunity to put forth who we are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to say, well, in what category? What do you
Let's
do?
let's box you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Which
yeah,
category are we talking about? Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So if you were able to give yourself one piece of advice when you first started out on your journey, what would it be?
Slow down. Don't like. It's not even the slow down and appreciate the moment. Most businesses have like these plateaus. Like sometimes good enough is actually good enough for the time being. And for me, I tried to scale very fast. And what I thought scaling fast was, at the end of the day, Aimee, it was just get more overhead. And it was just get more overhead to make myself look attractive to prospective people. When in reality, the people that I was working with, they just wanted to work with myself and my values and my skill sets and how I made people feel, how I treated my staffs, how I made someone feel in the room, just pouring them a glass of water or coming into the office or conducting exchanges of money. I scaled in too fast in something that really it mattered, but it really didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Justin, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your expertise.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah. And if there are people that are interested in your services, what's the best way to contact you?
I would say go on my website, coachjustinkeller.com. It'll tell you a little bit more about not my professional resume accomplishments, just who I am. And there's my email right on there in a form. And I think that's my best way. People say social media, but if you look at me in social media, I'm warning you, I follow only dog accounts and comedians because it's my escape. I'm not trying to be an influencer.
That's hilarious.
LinkedIn too, but I like my website because it really is an authentic couple snapshots into what I am as a person.
Yeah, your website is a lot deeper. It's not just informational.
It's to the point with who I am.
I love that. And I'll put all your links down below as well.
That's kind of you.
Perfect. And if you're listening, you want more information about this podcast and upcoming shows, you can visit acalltothrive.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful week.